Welcome to the fourth episode of In Defense of, the internet series dedicated to the eternal pursuance of my one true everlasting love in movies, TV, and books that I cherish and others didn't find worth the time to wait out while the banker man came to collect.
I'm the fool who didn't mind his damn space.
Jared Walter, here to honor everything that is great, that is worth loving for, that is worth fighting for, and yes, if it be the time and the bell doth toll, and the wings doth beat, probably dying. And should I die, that death would be but a sweet, sweet, succulent tribute at the feet of the gorgeous goddess of the underrated art in our world. This time, if you haven't guessed, we'll be covering The Spoils of Babylon, a mini-series produced by IFC and originally airing in 2014, with a star-studded cast of Will Ferrell, Tim Robbins, Kristen Wiig, Tobey Maguire, Jessica Alba, and appearances by Haley Joel Osment and Val Kilmer. This risky spoof on a golden-era American fiction was both adventurous and considered a failure. For more on this, let's go to the formula. Objectives, please. The Spoils of Babylon seems to be one of those rare gems as considered great by the general audience, but critically disliked. This sweeping epic scored an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 6.8 out of 10 out of IMDb, and a surprising 91% from Google users. Unfortunately, being an IFC property and now owned and only available on AMC+, not many saw it. Again, critics disliked it, and I would argue their disdain drove audiences away. The Spoils of Babylon is a unique beast. Each episode is introed and outroed by Will Ferrell's gregarious and amorous Eric Jean Roche, the fictional writer and director of the series. In this series, the characters are intense caricatures of American fiction. Spoils of Babylon pokes fun at books by writers like Theodore Dreiser, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and John Steinbeck, while also parodying the music and pretension of artists like Bob Dylan, Jack Kerouac, and Jim Morrison, and then mocking the socio-politic dramatics of war propaganda films in the 1970s. It is as driven and thought-provoking as it is ridiculous. Each episode is marred by a tone and timbre of American time frames. We start in the Dust Bowl era, move into World War II, and continue to cycle through each subsequent decade with an intentional clumsiness that underlines the show's criticisms of America. Each character speaks in long-winded monologues and often seems completely detached from any kind of reality. Even the production values are intentionally chintzy to demonstrate the ego and self-righteousness of the creator within the show, Eric John Roche. Like a fine compass,
says to my son Devin, love, Jonas Morehouse, fortune favors the man with purpose.
There's more.
For he is so driven that all his senses obey his singular ambition, lust and dreams alike, and even love steered straight by one passion.
Yeah, keep reading. There's more.
His footsteps forever will fall upon solid ground, as no unseen surprise will interfere with progress. Such is the man of purpose, a true leader, not just of men, goes forth and bends all these things to fit his majesty. Therein ends the right for my beloved and most cherished son, Devin Jonas Morehouse. You're fat. You're fat. Why did you put that?
Let me see that. Supposed to say your father. Damn fool ran into space. He should have managed his space better.
every bit of Spoils is geared to draw out perfect performances while also highlighting how American egoism can only lead to the decline of our country. With that, let's cut to our man in the field, subjective criticisms for some slobbery secondaries. To properly analyze the Spoils of Babylon, we have to break down the caricature types portrayed by Tim Robbins, Kristen Wiig, and Tobey Maguire. Tim Robbins, in what is probably the role he was born and bred for, plays the stoic and steadfast patriarch of the series, Jonah Morehouse. He is an oil man in destitution, waiting patiently for a ship to come in. Every single aspect of Morehouse is a critical parody of the mythological self-made American man. He has a rule for everything but believes all men could do great things if left to their own devices. Believing that man is inherently good while needing to be ruled by a sturdy upper class is the lie they've been selling us since hyper-religious upstarts first came to this country, and has set the table for our currently malfunctioning criminal justice system and our failures to achieve successful healthcare and educational systems. By Morehouse's account, all a man needs is a tall stack of books and a strong work ethic, and there is nothing he can't achieve. Yet, despite his misinformed opinions, he does end up striking it rich, right as, in classic American fuck you style, the banker man has come to take everything.
You, Jonas Morehouse, are a failure.
Hey, my pops ain't no failure.
Easy, son.
A complete and utter failure.
You watch your tongue.
Son, please.
Who knows? As of this moment, you may very well be the poorest man in the entire country. Son of a bitch.
It's oil! Son of a bitch! Heaven, we struck oil! It's oil! It is oil! Son of a bitch!
Jonah Morehouse is every single misguided golden era figure of what it takes to succeed. What we never learn through the show is how Jonah got all the land in the first place, or how he could afford books when he is so poor that he has to feed his children rabbit stew on the reg. A big part of the fiction that sold us the American dream holds individual persons on a pedestal as bastions of integrity, a goal each of us should be able to reach if we just work hard enough. That lie has poisoned this country. In reality, it's some combination of cooperation, teamwork, inheritances, connections, and access that makes someone in America. We see Jonah go from rags to bitches in the blink of an eye without consideration as to what, when, where, or who. All we know is the why, because it must be, because Jonah Morehouse was chosen by his own divine will and by God himself to wield power in a democracy for...
Not for all the wealth in the world, but for all mankind.
Now, let's consider his children, Cynthia and Devin Morehouse. These two knuckleheads are just different sides of the same shitty coin, I tell you what. Devin Morehouse, portrayed by Spider-Man, is a type of Dickensian American character right out of a Walt Whitman poster. When we first meet Devin, he is a homeless orphan wandering the land until he's adopted by Jonah Morehouse. These Dickensian orphans were all over American fiction in the 1920s and 30s, as they too offer the foolish hope of hitting the lottery and then earning it afterward. Devin devotes himself to his new father's teachings as we see him reading philosophy while toiling in the fields. This fictional narrative of will plus drive equals success and ability is played out again through Devin. However, in the only way golden era fiction actually resembles real life, the children of a wealthy man that did right by the world don't always stick to that path of altruism. That brings us to the other side of that shitty coin, Cynthia Morehouse. Jonah Morehouse's only natural-born child, Cynthia is rotten from early on. When we see her as a child, she is demanding, desires only frivolous pleasures in life, and presumes the world exists to serve her. Cynthia, portrayed by Cheetah, is the linchpin of the criticisms doled out by Spoils of Babylon. She disproves her father's entire philosophy by simply existing. She was born and raised of this good man, and turned out to be one of the most destructive kinds of selfish a person can possibly be. She's also incredibly dense, proving that sometimes no amount of education can elevate someone from their natural condition.
What does it mean?
It means war, Cynthia.
War.
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 W-A-R.
W-O-R-E.
W-A-R. It means war.
Not saying dumb is bad. The world needs Hufflepuffs, and I'm probably one of them. But her kind of dumb, combined with being wealthy, allows for a disassociation from consequences, empathy, and consideration for any other human being. There is also a twisted love story between Devin and Cynthia that is the crux of all ruin in the Morehouse family.
Yeah. I sure do, sis. I just, oh my God.
Why?
Oh God.
Why not?
I do. I don't want to do this.
Why not?
I do want to
You do
do
want
it. I do. You're right.
Okay, fine.
At the turn of the 20th century, American dynasties traded children similarly to European dynasties. They believed their bloodlines to be a certain kind of pure that only shitty white people can believe. American dynasties would ensure their ability to endure, if not just straight up control, the whims of the populace, and protect their fortunes in the meantime. In many cases, they did this by keeping the family close.
Oh my God.
Because this is gross and how you get genetic abnormalities, these love stories were often written away by explaining the relationship was far enough away or claiming a child was adopted. Similarly, because of religious groups and conservative parent groups, fiction criticizing this practice also had to adapt the same adoption tone. Spoils highlights this little known fact of oligarchical practices by having Cynthia and Devin fall in love young, trash their lives in pursuit of a cure to their ancestral behaviors, and hurt as many people as possible along the way. Spoils combines the worst flaws in America's wealthiest classes with the tone of the lesser fictions that perpetrated the myth, the American dream. To tackle this content as directly as the real writers Matt Piedmont and Andrew Steele do, they must filter it through the most ridiculous lens available, or else the content would be too silly to be enjoyable. It's like when you eat a big bowl of Lucky Charms. If you just dump the equivalent amount of raw sugar into your mouth, it wouldn't be palatable. But press it into preposterous cartoon shapes, and now it's a nutritious breakfast. You have to take spoils over the top, or else it's just too sweet and ridiculous. I have a lot more to say on this topic, but I'm going to make like CNN and leave it there for now. Check back in a few weeks when I cover the rest of the spoils of Babylon. Until then, make sure to check out our podcast channel, Fantasy Draft Fiction. Thanks for watching.